Hello and welcome to Manga 96, and today we have the review of One Piece manga chapter 1036 titled Bushido is the Way of Death. After having focused heavily on Sanji and Zoro in the last few chapters, Oda decided to give us an update chapter with everything important that is still going on Onigashima after Sanji's and Zoro's victories in their respective fights. That way, we see the current state of the legendary ninja battle that puts the fight between Hashirama and Madara to shame. The masked members of the CP0 actually do prove that they aren't called the strongest intelligence operators for nothing. And while Onigashima is slowly but surely going up in flames, with Yamato desperately trying to prevent the big explosion, Momo trying to prevent Onigashima to fall on the flower capital, and their further soldiers fighting for dear life, we see that back on the roof, Luffy and Kaido have just so much fun beating each other bloody. Now let's save all that for later and start at the beginning of this week's chapter. One Piece had a color spread this week with the Straw Hats having fun exploring an abandoned town during the winter, with them is a tiger to symbolize that this year is the year of the tiger. Going into the chapter, we start right where the last one left off, with seeing from up close the extent of the injuries that King suffered from Zoro's attack in the last chapter. We see a brief flashback with King and Kaido talking about Joy Boy. It can be seen from their conversation that at least in the beginning when they just met they believed that Kaido was Joy Boy, but as the years went on they realized that that was not the case. We even have King say a similar line that Zoro said to Luffy back in the Baratie, that he won't lose anymore until he accomplishes his dream, with King's being of making Kaido the Pirate King. As in the last chapter, it is shown that in the very least the All-Stars and the Tobiropo have a similar relationship to Kaido like the one that the Straw Hats have with Luffy. The flashback ends and the first thing that we see is one of the most badass Zoro panels in the series, where he decides that he will become the King of Hell, if that will help Luffy in becoming the Pirate King. We see that King falls from Onigashima just like Queen did in the chapter earlier, with Zoro using an attack to propel himself back to Onigashima, and then we get the confirmation that Zoro is indeed the winner of this fight. However, this fight didn't go unnoticed, as we see a Harpy Mary has observed the fight, giving her report to the other Marys. This way, the first member of the CP0 who stayed behind in the indestructible reception room learns of the defeat of the All-Stars and the Tobiropo, which honestly shocks him, but he still believes that despite those victories, the new generation can't overcome the two monsters that are still left standing. As he is saying that, we see a brief panel of the fight between Big Mom and Kid and Law, where we see that Big Mom's hair is on fire as she is throwing the homie steel beams and Kid and Law are dodging it. Then we get a page of explanation on what is going on currently with Momo's and Yamato's missions respectively. First we see a little picture of what would happen if Onigashima indeed falls on the flower capital, and it shows us what Momo is trying to do to prevent it, with him trying to pull Onigashima as far away from the capital as possible. Then we see where exactly Yamato and Kanjuro's fire block of vengeance are as opposed to the armory. I must say that I really like this little drawing of Yamato to indicate where she currently is. It's really cute. Anyway, we see that she and Fuga approach the door to the weapons room, which is guarded by the last number that we haven't seen yet, number 6, Rocky. This way, completing the numbers collection, and what a disappointing collection it turned out to be in the end. Guarding is a strong word here, as Rocky is in reality just sleeping in front of the door. Yamato has no time to deal with him, so she asks Fuga to take care of things, which he happily accepts by headbutting the sleeping Rocky and crashing through the wall, that way opening the path for Yamato to the weapons room. Also, by doing this, Fuga has become the only number that managed to do something useful for either side, which just shows on how useless the numbers actually are. Then we move on to Usopp's sides of things, as he has arrived in the attic where Kinemon and Kiku are. He fends off the assault of some beast pirates. While he is doing this, Kinemon and Kiku both say to Usopp to just leave them behind and save himself, which prompts Usopp to go on a rant on the way that the samurai only want to die, and that it's better to survive even if you look bad by doing it. This is all well and good, I know from where Usopp is coming from, but at this point, if they want to die so badly, why don't you let them die already and end this suffering once and for all? Sadly, this is not going to happen anytime soon, as Caesar shows up as backup. He agrees with Usopp's statement from earlier, as he has come to act as a shield so that Usopp can take both Kinemon and Kiko to safety, which is the thing that happens in the end. But I must ask, where is Marco? As we only saw Iso appear in this chapter, and the last time we saw those two they were together. So I wonder where Oda wants to place Marco for the finale of Onigashima. My guess is that Marco will either interfere with the CP0 in trying to get to Robin. As we'll see in a bit, he will be really helpful in that front right about now. Or I could see him helping Yamato by taking care of Kanjuro's fiery blob of vengeance with his Phoenix Flames. The only other two options where it would make sense for him to appear is the battles with either Kaido or Big Mom, but I don't believe that he will do this, as in chapter 1023 he made it perfectly clear that he is betting everything on the new generation in this fight, so it isn't his place to interfere. Either way, it will be interesting to see where Marco will appear next. Moving on, we see a glimpse of the ninja battle of the century, where it seems that both Raizo and Fukurokujo are descendants of the Nara clan, as they both possess the shadow binding jutsu, as they know in a deadlock, with the room they are fighting in slowly being consumed by flames. However, Raizo is the one with the bad luck here, as his clothes are already on fire, so it seems that Fukurokujo has the upper hand, but considering who Raizo served, a bit of fire shouldn't bother him too much, or at least he tries to fool himself into believing this. With those two being stuck in this deadlock, we briefly move to see what is happening with Hiyori aka Komurasaki and Toroche. The answer to that is nothing much, as Hiyori is just playing her shamisen with Toroche listening to it in peace, with her reassuring that everything is okay when he starts to wonder where Fukurokujo is and what is going on with the fire in Onigashima. Now, why is she doing this? I can only see two possibilities. First is, she is waiting for Denjiro to arrive. Secondly, she is waiting for the fire to reach this room so that Orochi will be trapped like a rat without a way to escape, and even his Dial Fruit wouldn't save him from that situation. I'm more leaning to the first option here, as I don't believe that Hiyori has a death wish, but I'm sure if worst comes to pass, she will be willing to go with option 2 if it ensures Orochi's demise. After that, we move to the fight between the two CP0 members and Drake and Apu. Well, it wasn't much of a fight, as the first thing that we see is Apu and the number Inbi running away with their tails between their legs from the CP0 members, with the taller member of the two finishing off the number Zanki, with Rain laying unconscious on the ground. Apu says his goodbyes to his two fallen brothers in arms, while he, with tears in his eyes, makes a strategic retreat in order to plan a comeback. Meanwhile, the CP0 members get a call from their colleague in the indestructible reception room, who informs them of the defeat of the All-Stars. In this conversation, we learn something really interesting, and that's that if the new generation does indeed win this war, this incident will only fuel the events that are already occurring in the world as we speak. What are those events that are happening right now? Judging from chapter 956, those events probably involve the former Shichibukais, Blackbeard trying to get something, maybe Alabasta turning against the world government because of what happened to Cobra and Vive, the Revolutionary Army finally making a move because of Sabo, Shanks finally moving, and this has nothing to do with Film Rat. Either way, from the sound of it, those events that are occurring aren't something that the world government is too fond of. And if on top of this, Kaido and Big Mom should fall to the new generation, then things will spiral out of control even more. Now, I really can't wait to see what exactly is happening outside of Wano, but by the sound of it, only exciting developments await us when we do learn about them. Hopefully, this will happen this year. While this conversation is happening, we see various shots of people involved in this fight in Onigashima. That way, we see Sanji, who is getting treated by Osamu, Killer, Beppo, Zoro, who passed out after his fight, a bloody Law, and Kid and Big Mom in her fiery mode. Out of all of those panels, Sanji's is the most important one, as we see that his eyebrow is now curled like normal. This could always be just a mistake on Oda's part, but I don't believe it, as since his eyebrow began to swirl like his brothers did, Oda didn't make a mistake in drawing it in the wrong direction, so my guess here is that from now on Sanji's German enhancements aren't permanent, but he can activate them at will like Luffy can with his gears, that his eyebrow will swirl again like his brother's when he does, and when he deactivates this, his eyebrow will return to normal. This is just a guess from seeing this one panel, and as I said earlier, it can be just a mistake on Oda's part, and his German enhancements are indeed permanent. Either way, only time will tell what is up with Sanji and his eyebrow. For the last scene of the chapter, we're back on the roof to see the fight between Kaido and Luffy. The fight continues to be an exchange of blows that are coated with Supreme King Sake. In the exchange that we see, Kaido landed 2 hits on Luffy, with Luffy landing a gear-free attack as the finale for this chapter, with both of them getting up with blood dripping from their faces. This is accompanied with big smiles as they have so much fun beating the shit out of each other. With this, we end the first chapter of this year. The most important thing from this chapter is definitely the events that are occurring in the world right now. I'm pretty sure that those events have something to do with what was set up in chapter 956. Other than that, this was mostly a chapter to bring us up to speed with what is going on Higashima right now. With question on what is happening with Sanji's eyebrow and where will Marcus show up next being also interesting plot points to see what happens with them in the future. If someone told Kaido before the arc started that it will take a rubber boy with a will of adamantium to give him a fight that he didn't have in years, he would laugh that off as a nonsense. But that is what happened, and you can see how happy that made him on the last page. All in all, this was an alright chapter of One Piece. Nothing spectacularly mind-blowing happened, but it had some nice moments with updating us on all the major plot threads that are still open on Onigashima. And that'll be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content as well as other manga content. And until next time, take care.